Today, and I know you'll be shocked, we're going to talk about .NET 6 and why we believe it's going to be red hot in 2022. So if you know a lot about Microsoft, they are now in these annual release cycles of .NET. Now, if you don't know much about .NET, let me give you a brief history lesson. Before, .NET had a version called 4.5. But under that, there was multiple frameworks under that. They did various things like building mobile apps, desktop apps, and web apps. And all of these frameworks were kind of disparate and not well joined together. So Microsoft decided to do a couple of things. Number one, they wanted to join all of these frameworks into one framework. And they had the aspiration of making it cross-platform, meaning that it would run on Linux and Windows. They also wanted to make it open source so that the community could contribute to .NET going forward. So what happened is they invented this thing called .NET Core, which later turned into .NET 5. And that gave us the cross-platform for web only. And now, finally, they're going to bring in the mobile and the desktop and put that into .NET 6. So for the first time this year, we will have one .NET, which means one .NET framework that you can build web, mobile, you can build desktop, you can build embedded, like Internet of Things, gaming, AI, and much more. This gives us one .NET that you can build almost anything on. Now, Microsoft also has the vision of making sure that you have the best tooling support as well. So one of the things that's being released this year as well is a brand new release of Visual Studio. And for the first time, it will be in 64-bit. So when you're looking at .NET 6, you're also going to be getting a brand new Visual Studio that'll be faster and more performant. The other thing that they're doing that's really exciting to you as a developer, and not only is .NET going to be released every 12 months, but also the language C#, which is the primary language most people use to write .NET applications, whether that's web, desktop, mobile, or Windows. The new release of C# gives us a lot of features that's going to help developers move things forward. The other thing that you want to think about is Microsoft itself and what they're trying to do. They're trying to make you the most productive, most in-demand developer that you can be by pushing out this tooling, the languages, the frameworks, and even the hosting platform with Azure to make sure that companies far and wide, large and small, adopt .NET as the thing that they're going to run their enterprise on. And that means more jobs and more opportunities for you. So .NET 6 and .NET coming out every 12 months gives you the opportunity to jump in at any time. And my suggestion is you need to jump in this year, because there's a lot of things going on that's really going to move the needle in the enterprise, which means more jobs. So let's talk about the two areas that I think are going to be red hot in 2022. One of the things I want to talk about is web development. Now, we still believe that full stack web development is the most in-demand job in the United States, and we expect that trend to still continue through 2022. And that means when you're looking at .NET, you're looking at a technology called ASP.NET, which allows you to build full stack web applications with something called MVC or Razor pages. Now, these are both similar technologies, but they do have a lot of differences. But in general, these render the page or the form on the server. So we had all server-side rendering, and then that form is then posted back to the front end. And we think this is a very scalable, fast, and easy to build technology that a lot of people will start new projects on and have a lot of maintenance work as well. So if you know MVC or you know Razor pages, you're going to be well positioned for 2021 and 2022 and the future. Now, the one thing that's very important that you need to understand from .NET 5 and .NET 6 is this ASP.NET is cross-platform. And that means that you can run this on any host that you want. So even if you're building your indie project and you don't have a lot of money for hosting, you can put it on a cheaper Linux host. And that wasn't necessarily true in the past. And you can do that with or without a container, which is exciting. In fact, at Coder Foundry, we push our students' projects to something called Heroku without containers. We simply build it and then publish it right to Heroku, taking advantage of the cross-platform nature of ASP.NET. And that's very exciting because it gave our students a really nice and inexpensive way to host their portfolios and their projects. So don't believe that if you adopt into .NET that you're tied to Windows. That simply isn't the case anymore. The other thing about .NET is it's also open source. So you'll see a lot of open source community projects that can enhance .NET or add features that you may not be aware of. We also have a broad support of third-party libraries that's easily to bring in through NuGet, a lot of packages and things. If something isn't necessarily included that you need, the library is vast and does almost anything that you possibly could imagine to bring into your project. The enterprise is going to hire people with the skills of ASP.NET, MVC, and C#, and that means you're in demand. And if you're in demand, that means you can make more money and there's more opportunities for you. So one thing that you definitely need to learn is ASP.NET, MVC, and Razor Pages. Now, the other way that's going to be beneficial for you to learn in 2022 is using service-based architecture or back-end service, RESTful services that you can build. Inside of .NET, we call this Web API. Now, Web API, you write these RESTful services with C#. Now, this could be a standard monolithic service or a microservice. You'll use the same technologies to build these. And these service backends take a lot of things from MVC. You still have a controller, it just doesn't render a view, it pushes data to the front end. Now, typically we're using these to build things like single page applications or SPAs, and built in inside the tooling for Visual Studio is support for React and Angular, which means if you're a React Node.js developer and you're looking to upskill, which I think it is, learning Web API, but then you can still use the same front-end framework that you want to use. And those are definitely very popular JavaScript frameworks that are in demand today. But when we talk to customers in the consulting company, we see a definite trend where people are moving away from things like Node and implementing Web API. And there could be a lot of reasons for this. If you looked at the Tech Empower round 20, ASP Core was the fastest framework or the fastest popular framework today with over 7 million requests per second. And that was over 10 times faster than Node. So I think a lot of the enterprise may be seeing the pure scalability and speed benefits of .NET, and they're migrating their projects over to that. Now, the other thing that is very popular is also going to be Blazor, and you're going to see an uptick in Blazor projects this year. So what Blazor is Microsoft's answer to building SPA applications that's not React and not Angular. They're still going to provide support for those, but they're building an entire ecosystem around running Blazor in the browser. The difference between React and Angular and Blazor is using something called WebAssembly. And that means that it runs compiled inside of the browser, and it is a brand new standard for browsers. And that is being adopted across the industry. It doesn't mean JavaScript's going to die or you'll never have to write any JavaScript, but for the most part, a lot of your code will be written in C# instead of JavaScript. And people are really liking the way the Blazor toolkit works. And you're seeing a lot of companies, as I talked to, that are adopting Blazor WebAssembly and Blazor Server for their web-based projects. And I expect that trend to continue in 2022. Usually when I make these .NET videos, I have to talk about two things, mobile and desktop as two separate sections. But with .NET 6, that is no longer the case. Now you can build Windows, Mac OS desktop, iOS phone, and Android phone with the same code base, and that's called .NET MAUI. Now, this has the industry in an uproar, and people are flocking to .NET 6 because they see the capabilities that are unparalleled in any other platform. Yes, there's other platforms that allow you to build cross-platform mobile, but not all of them at this scale that allows you to build almost any platform with one code base. And so no longer do you have to decide if you're going to build a Windows app or a Mac OS app or an iOS iPhone app or an Android app. You just build the app and then you compile to the application platform of your choice. And that's very exciting. A lot of this comes from the tooling that was in Xamarin in the older version of the .NET framework called .NET Mono. And now they have positioned that all the way into one .NET while making sure that WinForms and things like WPF all work with one code base. And that's the exciting thing for you as a developer, because if you know .NET MAUI, now you can build apps for anything. And the other thing that we like a lot is Blazor also is entering into the desktop realm. So now if you know Blazor and you have web experience, you can use this tooling for web and then publish that to the desktop as well. And so we'll see a lot of these kind of lighter weight desktop applications being pushed with Blazor Desktop. So that's another thing that you need to keep your eye on. But make no mistake, .NET MAUI is going to be hot in 2022. So what does all of this mean to you as a developer and you as in your career? Well, I want you to think about it. If you know .NET, then you can build web, desktop, and with .NET MAUI, you can also build mobile. It makes you a very cross-functional ability to tackle almost any type of project just simply because you've invested your time in learning .NET, C#, and all of the frameworks associated with that. But this is the other thing I want you to think about. What other company is spending the amount of time and resources to build out tooling, platforms, languages, hosting platforms like Microsoft? No other company is spending this amount of time and making you the most productive and well-established developer in the world. And so what Microsoft is also doing simultaneously is making sure that all of their tooling, languages, and platforms are appealing to customers like enterprise companies. And that means if they adopt these platforms, they're going to be looking for developers who know how to build things on these platforms. And that's going to be you, because you're going to learn .NET this year and definitely push your career to that next level in 2022.